Hello and welcome to Conspiracy Boulder.
You're not a boulder, you're a rock!
Welcome to Conspiracy Boulder News. Donald Trump speaks his mind and the frenzy starts anew. The old-fashioned media is seemingly completely unprepared to deal with someone who isn't playing their game, that they are literally digging deeper and deeper into their bag of tricks, in their increasingly more desperate and devious attempts to manipulate public opinion. By asking certain questions, not asking certain questions, making certain remarks, and then cleverly editing what pleases them not, the old-fashioned media is scrambling to hurt Trump. But, apparently, it's not working. Honest pollsters will tell you that the more the old-fashioned media tries to urinate on Trump, the more his popularity rises. And the sheer hypocrisy of the old-fashioned media is growing and growing. Take, for instance, the way the old-fashioned media treats presidential hopefuls Donald Trump versus Fiorina, the former CEO of HP. First, Trump. In 2006, Trump decided to take pity on the current Miss USA, and allowed her to retain her crown, despite some problems she was having, provided that she went to rehab. A co-host on The View TV show, at the time, Rosie O'Donnell was critical of Trump's decision to give Miss USA a second chance, and then trashed Trump, calling him a snake oil salesman, said he went bankrupt, and made fun of his several marriages. Of course, Trump fired back, calling O'Donnell, quote, a real loser, and fat little Rosie. End quote. The verbal war went on, and was sophomoric. However, during the recent presidential debate, Fox reporter Megyn Kelly triumphantly announced to the audience that Trump has, quote, called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. End quote. Trump interjected, quote, only Rosie O'Donnell. End quote. And the audience loved it. Providing the loudest sustained applause of the debate, and the loudest laughter and supportive roaring and whistling. Kelly had to wait for the audience to settle down. Kelly then said that Hillary Clinton was claiming Trump was part of the war on women, to which Trump answered, quote, I think that the big problem this country has is being politically correct. End quote. And again the audience went wild, applauding and whistling. Think about it. While Kelly's ridiculous attempt to make Trump appear to be some sort of woman hater backfired, and actually raised his standings, it could have been very harmful had Trump not been able to fire right back. Think about it. On the contrary, here is how the old-fashioned media treats someone they are sucking up to. Presidential hopeful Fiorina, former CEO of HP. During the presidential debates, the old-fashioned media carefully chose their every word to give the impression that Fiorina was a business star, and a quote, tech leader. End quote. That's the message they wanted average Americans to come away with. But was Fiorina the successful business person the old-fashioned media portrayed her to be? Hardly. Why in the world would the old-fashioned media not mention that Fortune magazine exposed Fiorina's failures in great detail a while back, as HP stock sank to 6-year lows? Here are some terms Fortune used in their article, Why Carly's Big Bet is Failing, about Fiorina. Failure. Cruel. Brain drain. Struggle. Unwieldy. Crazy. Wrong-headed. Claims. Indefensible. Disappointment. Flubbed. Wishful thinking. Blanked out memories. Folly. Failed. Business Insider magazine reported that during her 6 years at HP, Fiorina laid off over 30,000 people. But not before forcing many of the Americans that lost their jobs to train their replacements overseas. Oh my living God. Seriously. Wow. How horrible. Yet not a word from the old-fashioned media. But it gets far worse. USA Today has Fiorina on a worst CEO list. Worst CEO list. And CNBC lists Fiorina on their worst American CEOs of all time list. Worst American CEOs of all time. Yet with all that real dirt in their pockets, the old-fashioned media gave Fiorina, a so-called worst American CEO of all time, a pass. No hard questions on her disastrous record. Yet they went after Trump for defending himself and making fun of someone who started in with him. What's that about? Think about it.